welcome back to Mosaic. We're in the middle of a wonderful conversation about this year's Jewish Film Festival with the Jewish Film Institute's Executive Director Alexei Labana and its Program Director Jay Rosenblatt. So let's continue with some conversation about what some of the sub-themes are for the film festival this year.
Yeah, well, part of our mission is to really inspire dialogue about today's most relevant issues, and always relevant in the Jewish community is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So we have a sidebar this year called Bridges and Barriers, Israeli and Palestinian Filmmakers Frame the Conflict, and 8 films are a part of this sidebar. So people can see the films throughout the festival, and then on Sunday, the 31st of July, no, sorry, I think it's Saturday. Yeah, the 1st of August, we have a panel discussion featuring 3 of the filmmakers, and the panel discussion is going to be moderated by Janine Zakaria, who is a Middle East analyst. So she'll be doing a panel discussion at the Castro, and people can come with their questions for the filmmakers. So part of this spotlight is a film called Censored Voices. This is a film that we saw at Sundance, and it's about the veterans of the 1967 war. Amos Oz had recorded audio conversations with some of the veterans immediately following the war, and this film features the older men now listening to their young voices talking about their experiences and reflecting.
And this is the war that we commonly now refer to in the history books as the Six-Day War.
Yes, yes.
In June. And so what clip are we going to look at?
Yeah, so this clip is East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem, and this is the closing night film, and it's also part of this spotlight. And it's a great music film about David Broza, the Israeli folk singer, who brings Israeli and Palestinians together, musicians, to record a CD together. And so Steve Earle, the American folk singer, comes to help with the efforts, and I think this clip is when he arrives in Israel.
So let's take a look at East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem.
I had heard that he was talking about this record. He's been talking about this for a long time.
Turns out that Steve Earle had written an album called Jerusalem and was always fascinated with Israel, Palestine.
I've never been to Jerusalem. It was a chance to go to Jerusalem, and I wrote Jerusalem.
I believe one fine day all the children of Abraham will lay down the swords forever in Jerusalem.
Sing it the way you want to sing it. Don't let me. Now you know you're changing the chords there. Do you know that? I don't have a guitar here, but it's like, yeah, everybody should hear it.
Beautiful. You know, the film festival is so powerful in the way it educates the community using an art form to issues that are potent and complex, and in some ways use the art form as a way to actually let people talk about the depth and breadth of these really, really important issues. And in this case, what's happening in the Middle East. I know also in that vein that you every year have a Freedom of Expression Award for a director who has contributed from that art form to those kinds of issues in the world. And so what's new with this year's Freedom of Expression Award?
Well, this year we have many films directed by women in the director's chair. Both our centerpiece films are directed by women. One is by Abigail Disney. She's a very famous documentary producer, and she made a film called The Armor of Light, which is a fantastic film, and that deals with the issue of gun violence. And we also have our centerpiece narrative film. It's called My Shortest Love Affair by Karen Albu, who did the closing night film several years ago.
When you use the word centerpiece, what do you mean in the context of the film?
It's kind of midway through the Castro run, and it kind of highlights 2 films, a documentary and a narrative that we want to call attention to. And then Freedom of Expression, which you brought up, we're very honored this year to give the award to the actress and director Lee Grant, who many people will remember from the film Shampoo. She won an Academy Award. That was with Warren Beatty, and she plays one of the women that he gets involved with. And she also was in Peyton Place. She was also in Detective Story, In the Heat of the Night, and she was blacklisted in the 50s. For 10 years she didn't work. And later in her career, she became one of the first women directors, and she directed a film that we're highlighting because it's the 35th anniversary of that film as well as our festival, and that film is called Tell Me a Riddle, and it stars Melvyn Douglas. And we're showing that. We're having Lee Grant here. She's going to sign copies of her memoir, I Said Yes to Everything, and we'll have like a close to an hour discussion on stage with her, and she'll be in conversation with one of the producers of Tell Me a Riddle.
How wonderful. You know, when we come back from our break, maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the educational aspects. You mentioned that Lee Grant was blacklisted, and it's interesting that Melvyn Douglas's wife, Helen Gahagan Douglas, at one point ran against, at that point in time, Richard Nixon in Southern California for Congress, and was at that election in that particular time was caught in the contemporary world of blacklisting. It'd be very interesting. Yes. So join us in just a moment when we come back here to Mosaic.